Hanlon. I'm the editor of Wetpixel. I'd like to welcome you to Wetpixel Live. I'd also like to welcome our intrepid explorer, Alex Mustard. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Adam. Not been doing too much exploring of late.
No. Maybe intrepid wannabe explorer at the moment, really, like all of us. One thing that we both have been fortunate to do in the past is lots of diving with seals here in the UK. And I thought I'd ask you straight away, Alex, what makes diving with seals in the UK so special?
Well, I think it's the one question that I probably get asked the most by people who don't live in the UK is people see the fantastic images, the fantastic videos that people like Ben Burville shoot in the UK, and everybody wants to travel to the UK and do some seal diving. So I think it's a great subject to talk about. I wanted to sort of start by just dealing with a few of the nuts and bolts of it in terms of there's kind of, I would say, three main locations that people do seal diving in the UK. There are seals all around our coasts. Well, I guess I'll go a step further back. We have two species of seals resident here in the UK, and both are really important populations globally. We have common seals, which is a more widespread species, but tends not to be very friendly underwater. And then we have grey seals, which the UK is home to 40 to 50% of the world population of. And those are the ones that we tend to meet underwater and get photos of. Yeah. There are three locations where we typically like diving with seals in the UK. And although most of the grey seals in the UK live in Scotland, the three places we actually dive with them the most are in England. And that is Lundy Island off the North Devon coast in the Bristol Channel, the Scilly Isles off the tip of Cornwall out in the Atlantic, and the Farne Islands at the opposite sort of end of England, off the northeast coast, off Northumberland coast, in the Farne Islands in the North Sea up there. And those are the three main areas. The two that are most easy to reach, certainly from a day trip point of view, are the Farne Islands and Lundy Island. The Scilly Isles is not really feasible on a day trip, so it tends to be something that if you've got a week's diving book there, particularly as a dive club, it's great to do seals. But as an individual wanting to go there for a day, it's not really possible. So the two main places are the Farnes and Lundy Island. They're quite different. Lundy Island is a lot further south, and the water's really quite warm there, and lots of people do that in a wetsuit and are very comfortable. The Farne Islands, it's the northern part of the North Sea. The water's much colder, and it tends to be more of a dry suit dive. Both have lots of seals. There's a lot more seals in the Farne Islands, but there's plenty of seals in Lundy. And in both places, they can be really friendly. They're used to divers. They enjoy the interaction. Now, there are seals all around the coast, and there's plenty of places where you can run into them. And up in Scotland, there are lots and lots of seals, but until this year, farmers or fish farmers were allowed to shoot seals. It sounds like there's someone closely related to seals walking around your room.
Yeah, they've just gone out again. They just come to come say hello. So yeah, sorry.
They heard us talking about whiskers, and
they did. Yeah, that's right.
But there's Scotland is worth a mention in that there are a lot of seals up there, particularly in the Hebrides on the west coast. There's quite clear water, and there's the opportunity for some very different type of seal photography out there, which I really like. I get asked a lot, should you do Farne, should you do Lundy? I like doing both, and I like doing both because actually the scenery is very different in the two. Lundy tends to be shallow, sheltered seaweeds, so you get lots of spaghetti weed there. You get lots of racks, fucus seaweeds. Whereas the Farnes tends to be dead men's fingers on the walls, and then kelp, cuvee kelp, on the top of the reef. So it's actually very different scenery. And you know, if you're used to the seaweeds, you can tell instantly which location the picture came from. So they both give you quite different, and then the setup of the two places is different. So you do get really nice pictures in both, and they are, if you're into it, really worth visiting. The final thing I would say about seal photography is seal interactions are all up to the seals. And when you go to do seal dives, some dives are action, 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 all dive. And you can dive half an hour later on the same dive site, and the seals can be not interested at all, or vice versa. For me, you know, so there's no way you can force the interactions, but if you put a few dives in, you will definitely get amazing interactions. My trick for getting good seals to come to me is to ignore the seals. If you show interest in the seals, they tend to be shy. If you ignore them and turn away from them and pretend that that seaweed is the most exciting thing underwater. They get very upset by that, and they'll come over and start pulling your fins and start playing with you, and then you get that interaction going where you get the chance to take as many pictures as you want.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'd say. But I think talking about seal diving is one thing, but really I want to see some pictures. So Adam, show me your kind of 3 most memorable seal pictures, please.
So it's very difficult to choose because there's so many wonderful memories of diving with seals that each dive is so wonderful. But I just thought I'd show this first picture, which is a bunch of very rowdy young grey seals in the Farne Islands. And basically what had happened was the tide had turned, and there was a standing wave that had developed on the edge of the reef, and I was able to kind of get up underneath the standing wave without being in the current, and I was taking pictures of these guys, and they were surfing in the standing wave. They weren't just playing in the standing wave, having a lovely time. And this guy here decided he'd come down and check me out and see what was going on, see if I was interesting, and probably see if I brought my board shorts or whatever to go for a surf. Well, he came down, checked me out like this, and then he did a barrel roll, so he turned himself around. So I thought, okay, well, he's obviously. So I did a barrel roll, and you could see him looking at me, going, "God, that was rubbish. You're a terrible seal. What's wrong with you?" And so he did another barrel roll, so I did another terrible seal-like barrel roll. And this went on about 4 or 5 times when he did it, and then he swam off, and I thought that was it. And then he brought his mate down. And he said, "Look at this really rubbish seal down here." And they ended up with about 4 or 5 of them all trying to teach me how to do barrel rolls. I need to say my barrel rolls are still rubbish. But yeah, the interaction was amazing. So this was shot very, very shallow water. There is a little bit of strobe on it, obviously, to pick out his head and his whiskers and stuff, but not much. Very nice and sharp, nice bright water. But this is just this amazing interaction with the seals. And I mean, I don't know, as an image, it probably it's a nice image, but it's nothing exceptional. But the story behind it and the memories that it evokes are very powerful, I think.
Yeah, there's such memorable dives that, again, all my favourite images tend to be dictated by the feelings and the memories more so than the standout nature of the actual individual shots.
Yeah.
And they are such compelling subjects that all the pictures generally ones that you want to look at anyway.
Yeah. And the next one I thought I'd share was, again, Farnes. And this was actually on a day where the water was very challenging. The water conditions were quite challenging. The viz was pretty murky. It was quite dark. There wasn't a lot of sunshine.
Yeah.
And through the dive, there was a big dark-coloured male hanging around, very laid back. He was keeping his distance from us, but he was around, and he was really big. But at the same time, there was this much lighter coloured female. She was smaller, and she was behaving really aggressively is the wrong word, but she was very kind of touchy-feely, and she was coming in, and she was grabbing at us. My buddy, actually, at one point, she tried to actually mount my buddy. So she was obviously kind of up for it, I suppose, maybe a way of describing it.
That was Graham, was it?
No, it wasn't, actually. It was Simon, who you've met as well. Anyway, what actually happened was that my dive team all started gradually running low on air, went to the surface. So I ended up down here on my own. And whether it was the reduction in the number of people in the water or whatever, but then this big male and this female obviously decided that now was the time, and proceeded to mate. And whilst I've seen quite a lot of animals mate when they're growing up in Africa and things. I've seen lions mate. And what was really amazing, I think this picture shows it, is it was very much between these two seals. There was a very mutual thing going on. There was very much that I obviously you can't anthropomorphize by talking about pleasure and things, but it seemed to be a very pleasant experience for both of them.
You make me blush, Adam.
I know. I'm trying to couch it carefully. And they were kind of, there was definitely what we would describe a fair amount of cuddling going on. And I think what the image shows is there seems to be on some level some kind of affection. And I think we need to
very tender affection. Filled picture, actually. I really love the shot, and I've never had the chance to see seals mating, so it's a picture I'm very envious of as well.
It actually, interesting enough, it was a picture that when I caught it, I thought it was quite unique because I hadn't seen many. But actually, when I started showing it to people, actually quite a few people, it's not uncommon to see. I've only ever seen it once, but yeah. Anyway, it was a great moment, and a great thing to witness, and actually quite surprising, I think, in some ways, the nature of it as well.
And the third one?
So the third one, this picture did very well for me in the competition circuit. It was the invitation, I think, for the event for the British Wildlife Photographer of the Year. It was actually on the invitation. Sadly, I didn't make the party, but there you go. And it was phrased. And again, this is actually just an example of quite often seals, what they'll come down is they'll come down in front of you, check you out, and as you move towards them, they actually pull backwards. And that's actually what the seal's doing. It's not reaching out, it's actually pulling backwards in order to swim away. But as it did it, it created this quite iconic, and it looks like it's coming to cuddle me. And I think that, a lot of people...
Well, you've timed the picture so well. That's what's made the shot. It's not what the seal was doing. It's actually what you were doing as a photographer.
Yeah, and it was fairly challenging conditions. Not as challenging on the day when I captured the mating seals, but it was fairly challenging conditions. So I was fortunate that this was very shallow. So there was sufficient light to light up the background, obviously to light the seal up as well. A little bit of strobe again to light them up. But yeah, I mean, it's just again the poses. The poses.
I think the timing of that shot and the overall composition, it's such a strong image.
Yeah,
it's really great.
No, thank you. Well, I mean, those were just a sampling. They're all shot in defiance, and I know, Alex, that you've got some wonderful pictures from elsewhere in the UK. So, and I'm hoping you've got some queued up to share with us.
Yeah, I have. I've got 3 as well, and like you, these are one of my favourite subjects. I've done a good number of seal trips now, and have lots and lots of pictures I'd love to share. But I decided to choose sort of one shot that was a real memory shot for me from each of the nations.
Yeah.
So I guess since you've been in the fans, I'll carry on in the fans with this picture, which is me and a sort of a middle-aged grey seal. Still fairly young, but he's definitely becoming a male now. So he's starting to darken up and look like a male.
Yeah.
But he was still very playful. And this is a selfie picture taken of a seal. And this was a picture that wasn't planned to take like this. I literally turned my camera around to see what the seal was doing, because he was up there sort of pulling on my hood around the back of my head, and I could feel him, but I couldn't see him. So I spun my camera around so I could see him in my dome port to see what was going on. And I took, and then obviously seeing him just there by my shoulder, pulling faces and playing around, I started taking pictures as well, just really for fun, not with any intention. But this picture, it's not an expression that we really want to use these days, but went viral in a way. And this at the time that I took it, I took it 8 years ago now. It went absolutely everywhere around the world. It was in tons of newspapers in loads and loads of countries. It just, it was one of those pictures that just went and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran, and still gets shared on sort of Instagram and Pinterest almost every day. I get tagged, and someone somewhere is sharing this shot.
Yeah.
And it's all made not by me or any of my photographic skill, but by the expression in my partner here.
The seal's expression is just incredible.
And actually, I was diving with Eleonora, my wife, on this dive, and she's actually got a photo of me taking this picture.
Oh wow!
Which is quite cool. No, I should have dug it out. Really.
The making of.
No one's ever seen it really, but she's actually, and it's actually this moment. It's exactly that setup, just me holding a big camera out in front of me. It
just shows that when you're shooting action like this, where the seals are moving around a lot, you can compose as much as you like, but sometimes you just got to shoot. In this case, shoot yourself. It's just press the trigger.
I didn't go in the water with saying, "Oh, a selfie would really take people there to the experience." I didn't go. I took this picture not with any expectation of it being a picture that did that, and it just captures that moment. So for my second one, I'm going to take you down to Lundy Island, and this picture here is a classic mouth open on the dome shot. And it's actually very easy to get seals, once they start playing with you, they do really enjoy mouthing around the camera that you're holding, particularly on the dome port.
Yeah.
And, it's a shot that I've taken many times with seals playing around the dome. But I like this one because typically the seals that are playful are young ones. And they're young ones with sharp white teeth and this is very unusual because it's an old seal. Yeah. And you can tell it's old because all its teeth have rotted away. It's a very old male seal. But it was still really playful. So it's always sort of, been really memorable for me for that. And it's, and I think I just really like that shot. It was also one of the first times I got one of these mouth open shot. It's a
2009 picture, so quite an old picture.
Yeah.
But it was really, just really it remained a favourite down all the years because of it.
Yeah.
And then my final picture is in Scotland. And this is a picture of a seal in a kelp forest.
Beautiful.
And this is kind of a shot almost of the seaweeds. There's actually not much kelp in this picture, so it's kind of a seaweed forest. It's more a picture of the seaweeds than actually of the seal. But this, for me, actually captures a lot of what diving with grey seals is often like. And that is the seals, before they start coming in and play, will often hover around the edge of visibility, check you out for a moment, and then vanish off again.
Yeah.
And this actually captures for me a real feeling of those seal dives.
Yeah.
It's maybe not that classic seal interacting with you, pulling my fins, climbing all over me, playing, running away, coming back. But actually, I like this kind of more distant shot. I think it's a really nice variation. And it's a shot for me that, actually that environment in Scotland is a perfect place to get this, where you've got these amazing seaweed gardens, particularly at the tide like this. And it just transports me into that habitat more so than the individual in your face, mouth open shot ever could.
Yeah, great.
So I really like the shot. And this picture was actually, although I took it in 2011, last year it was a double category winner in the BWPA. I finally got around to entering it, and it was a double category winner. So it's also nice that it's had a more recent competition success to its name.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
So those are my three that of seals. But I think the one thing I wanted to say in the introduction that I'm just going to say quickly now is that diving with seals is actually quite different to diving with sea lions. Yeah. Both can be very playful, but sea lions are very athletic, very maneuverable animals. Seals are built much more for long distance efficiency, and they're kind of a little bit calmer than sea lions. And I have to say I prefer diving with seals than with sea lions.
Yep.
Sea lions are kind of frenetic, a little bit nippy, whereas and they're both very playful. But seals, I think, are just sort of often quite chilled out, a little bit more considered in what they're doing. And and I guess the fact that we get to do it in our home waters makes it even more special.
I also think that any time that a wild animal chooses to interact with you is any day, should I say, that a wild animal chooses to interact with you on its own terms. There's no food involved in any of these pictures. There's nothing like that. They're doing it because they get some kind of pleasure out of it, and that's a very special day. It's
seeing how rubbish we are. It's for me.
Absolutely, seeing how bad we are at barrel rolling. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing your images, Alex. I'm sure we can see more on Instagram, where you are called
Alex Mustard 1.
Alex Mustard 1. There you go. So please check out Alex on Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, which is CCAM. Please feel free to like this episode if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you like notifications of any future episodes. And please add in any suggestions for future episodes in the comments. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you.